That's why it's so frustrating when we have a governor and the speakers of the House and speaker of the Senate and the head of judiciary trying to block this when they've already got clear votes. Representative Dave Agim out of Granville put the bill in for me. In 30 minutes, he had 42 co-signers. He's gone around and just asked, and without spending a lot of time on both sides of the aisle, this bill would pass both sides of the House, both sides of the aisle with a clear majority, and it would do the same in the Senate, but it's being blocked from actually getting to those places. And so I want to just urge the viewers to call the governor's office, call Representative Jace Bolger, or Speaker Jace Bolger, call Speaker Randy Richardsville, and in particular call Representative John Walsh. I happen to know John Walsh's number. It's 517-373-3920. Again, 517-373-3920. Call his office, say, we want this bill to get through judiciary so we can have a vote.
Because you're one person. You're not working alone, though.
No. Some of the strategy that I've approached with this is I always look for strategy and how to get something done. And I found the best strategy is divine wisdom. So one of the things that came out was the idea of a bookmark. And the bookmark on one side said, how do you pray for this issue? And the other side was, how do you call? What do you say? And who do you call? And so I distributed 10,000 of these bookmarks to churches all over Michigan. And I have people praying and calling every Tuesday to try to get some initiative in the state. And I've been told that there are calls coming in on a regular basis for this bill. It's just they have no intention of doing anything with the bill. So we need to keep the pressure on so citizens say, hey, I want our Constitution to be the primary issue. I don't want Sharia law to dictate it. I don't want Hindu law to dictate it. I don't want English law to dictate it or German law. I want American laws in our courts.
Well, how did the other states get it passed?
They had education from, the coming to the state reps and coming to the senators as well. Act for America, which is a large organization that helps make Americans aware of what Islam's intent. They raised 30,000 emails. There was the Catholic Conference also supported in Kansas. They happen to oppose it here because their language, they got that from CARE. So that makes me a little suspect that their reason for opposition is coming from a terrorist group. They also had the Center for Security Policy in Washington, D.C. helping communicate. We've had some of that here. We've also even had the Leadership Institute, the Islamic Leadership Coalition, support it and had them come to Lansing and speak. And we had people, grassroots activists from Tea Parties and from churches and from ministries and Republicans, Democrats come. And we were standing room only for this rally, and we still can't get our key leaders to move on it, so they need more pressure.
All right, so you are coming as a grassroots initiator from the Oak Initiative.
Right.
What is Oak Initiative?
The Oak Initiative, for those who are watching, if you go to theoakinitiative.org.
So it's O-A-K.
O-A-K, The Oak Initiative, all spelled out, .org. The Oak Initiative was started in 2009 or 2008. I was one of the original founding members of that organization. Their main purpose is they're looking at the major spheres of influence in society, like education, government, family, media, and said that we need to have a biblical worldview in the major spheres of society. So they have been gathering Christians. There's Oak chapters in all 50 states and 163 nations, and it's about preserving Americans' life. We were surprised that we got 163 nations involved with other people with Oak chapters, but the foreigners are looking at if America loses its freedom, loses its liberty, loses its way, and veers off of its Judeo-Christian backbone, that it's going to ruin freedom for the rest of the world because America has been preeminently the country of freedom. We haven't done everything right. I admit that. But we are the perpetrators of freedom and liberty, life. And we need to continue on that course. So the Oak Initiative is taking a lot of interest in government right now because our government has gotten quite skewed from what the original intent of the Founding Fathers was.
And how did Oak become a part of the name?
Well, that was interesting. A friend of mine, Gordon Pennington, who's from Owasso, Michigan, was at a board meeting for the Oak Initiative in South Carolina where the headquarters are. And they were trying to decide what to use for a name that would be impactful. And they were kind of at a stalemate. Gordon was tired because he travels a bunch. He's a marketing and branding expert for major international companies. He went out, laid down on the couch, actually fell asleep, had a dream, saw an oak tree and said, the Oak Initiative, came in and shared that. At the time, Bishop Larry Jackson, who's been a longtime Promise Keeper speaker, who's on the board, happened to have Isaiah open to Oaks of Righteousness, and the name just stuck. And the key for our nation is to have a strong foundation. An oak tree has roots that go as far deep as branches go up. And so we cannot have a shallow rooted system like a corn plant, for example. You get a strong wind, they all lay over. We must have strong foundational roots based on the Bible, because that's what our Constitution and our Bill of Rights were based on, so that we can have a prosperous nation going forward. The idea of taking God out of the equation has not served America very well over the last 40 or 50 years since we removed them from our schools. And you just see the destruction we see in our schools as a result.
Okay. Well, we may have viewers who just tuned in now and were wondering what is it that we're really talking about, and what with such passion and energy that you are sharing, and I appreciate that. And we're talking about a law. Explain a little bit more again, if you would, please.
American Laws for American Courts is the common name, or Michigan Laws for Michigan Courts, HB 4769. It's a 2.5-page bill. It keeps foreign laws from being used in judicial judging in our court system. So we have to use our Constitution. Very plain and simple. You'd think it wouldn't be needed, but because other people are pushing their agendas and their laws, and some judges are starting to rule on that, this just clarifies, that's what legislation is for, clarifying that of what is in the Constitution, that we must use our rule of law when making a judgment.
So then explain too, then if this doesn't go through, if it is denied, what is going to happen possibly?
Well, you'll see continuation, particularly with Sharia law, because they're the most egregious group pushing their agenda. In New Jersey, there was a case where a woman was being regularly beaten and raped by her husband. Now, in our law system, she could get a restraining order and fight that and keep her husband at distance, because even if you're married, you don't have the right to beat and rape your partner or your spouse. So this woman went to get a restraining order from a judge who denied the restraining order because he says, under Sharia law, your husband has the right to beat you and to have sex anytime he wants, even forcefully, so you're denied that right. This is New Jersey. This isn't Iran.
Right.
So she had to go to another judge, a Court of Appeals judge, and eventually it was overturned and she was given a restraining order. But that shouldn't ever occur. She should have been given that restraining order right off the bat, because nobody has the right to be beaten, raped, even if it is by your husband. If we don't pass a bill like this, you'll see more attempts like that being used. You've probably heard of honor killings. When these people do honor killings, or we have homegrown terrorists who went to Al-Qaeda training camps, they're bold saying, I didn't do anything wrong. Killing isn't killing if you're standing up for what the Quran or Allah preaches. Well, that's crazy under our system. And so we need to make sure that there is no option for these laws to infiltrate and become case law studies in our Constitution.
So you're promoting it here and making the connections here within the state of Michigan.
Correct.
Do you work with other people around the nation as well?
Mostly from a national standpoint, I've worked with folks from the Center for Security Policy. They're based out of Washington, D.C. You can just Google Center for Security Policy. They've got a 10-part series on understanding Islamic law and the Muslim Brotherhood. They've got all sorts of information available. And so I've been getting most of the law work from them that Dave Agin would then put in, so we didn't have to get an attorney and hire an attorney to draft it. It was already done for us.
Okay, beautiful, yes. So as far as Googling, if someone were to seek more information, then could they Google American Laws for American Courts?
Yep, you could Google American Law for American Court. There'll be a whole lot of things that come up. You'll see both sides of you'll see the people who are for it and supporting it, the attorneys that have drafted it, and you'll see the Islamic groups that are opposing it. Now, these Islamic groups, it's important to know this. CAIR, which is the main group, C-A-I-R, they're saying they speak on behalf of all Muslims. There's Muslims from 53 nations in this country, and CAIR does not speak on behalf of those groups. They speak on behalf of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is looking to do stealth jihad, take over America and destroy their miserable house within. That was found in their documents during the Holy Land Foundation trial. So the reason we haven't had a terrorist attack since 9/11 is the Muslim Brotherhood has spoken to Al-Qaeda and said the stealth jihad's working better. We now have Muslim Brotherhood operatives in Homeland Security, counseling the president, they counseled the last president. So they don't need to bomb us or scare us if they can take us over from within. And they've infiltrated the FBI and Homeland Security, like I said. So we need to become aware as citizens and stop this.
So this sounds alarming. As I'm sitting here, I'm thinking,
It's
oh my
very
word, how
alarming.
would we not know about this? Why would we not know about this?
Because the media's major focus is, and this is language that they've taken from these Muslim Brotherhood operatives, is that if you're somehow opposing this, you're Islamophobic. Well, it's not Islamophobia if they are trying to kill you. And that's their word. And so they're trying to make it a freedom of religion action. And I find it very interesting when you look at liberal media standing up for any form of religion, because they're mostly agnostic or atheist. So they'll stand up for any religion except for the Christian religion, which is what our nation was founded on. So we have to be very careful to watch the intentions. And so the reason people mostly don't know about this is they're saying, well, everybody should have the right to worship and freedom of religion. But this has nothing to do with freedom of religion. It's the Establishment Clause issue. Use our laws, not foreign laws.
Okay, and I think that's the important part that we need to really focus on, is the fact that freedom of religion, yes, certainly, that's fine.
Right.
But the other component, they do not delineate between the law and religion.
Right. In a mosque, regardless of where it is, there's Islamic centers and there's mosques. Mosques are training grounds so that when Sharia law is put in place in those communities, that's the judicial system. Since 9/11, Saudi Arabia has funded the building of over 1,200 mosques in the United States of America. They're building huge mosques and there's only 30 people attending. It's because it's establishing a judiciary system in our nation. They always like to build mosques over great victories. That's why this Ground Zero mosque has been such a big issue. They say it's about worship and religion, but they're trying to build it next to their success of killing 3,000 Americans through terrorism.
Okay, so what is your next step?
Well, the next step is to try to get the governor, the Speaker of the House, Richardville, or Speaker of the Senate, Richardville, Speaker of the House, Bolger, and the head of Judiciary, Representative John Walsh, to take some action. They're afraid to take action because they think this is controversial. Well, the 4 states it's passed with 90% of the vote. How is that controversial? Most Michigan citizens want this bill. Most Muslims in Dearborn want this bill. We just need to get some action out of our current Republican leadership to do something.
Okay, and again, one way that we could do that if we are so moved,
Call and email.
call and email our state rep.
And keep doing it. Do it with your state rep, but particularly those 4 individuals as well. You'll find that your state rep, most of them support the bill. The bill had 42 co-signers in 30 minutes when it went in. Most bills that get signed into law never had that many co-signers. So this will pass a vote at the House floor, but it's being blocked by Judiciary. On the Senate side, it's being blocked by Commerce, because that's the committee that it got put in with Randy Richardville. And the reason it was put in that committee is because the governor wants the bill dead.
Okay, all right, so kind of hide it or...
Yep. Yeah, I didn't make it go away, except that it isn't going to go away. Representative Dave Agema terms out at the end of this year. He's the one that put it in. I've already had other state reps come and say, this is such an important issue. If it does not get voted on before he is out of office, let me know and I'll re-put it in for you.
Okay, good to know. So American Laws for American Courts, good to Google, good to become involved in and promote.
Right, and again, go to the oakinitiative.org website. There's all sorts of videos explaining this subject in detail.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you so much, Mark
Thank you
Gurley.
for having me, Donna.
Thank you for
I appreciate
the
it.
work that you're doing on this behalf. And we thank you for joining us today as well. I'm Donna Kidner-Smith for Community Awareness.